Next up, we have Steve Mantis, who will be speaking on behalf of injured workers. Steve was injured in an industrial accident in 1978, losing his left arm. He went through the Workers' Compensation Board system and saw firsthand how it failed for many injured workers. In 1984, he helped found the Thunder Bay and District Injured Workers Support Group. He has been active ever since, working to improve the lives of injured and disabled workers across Canada. Since 1996, Steve has been building links with academics to study the consequences of workplace injury. He is presently the chair of the Research Action Committee of the Ontario Network of Injured Workers Groups. Alongside Marion Endicott, Steve has just written a book about some of their activism with injured workers. Published earlier this year, it is called Who Killed Sir William? A Community University Research Alliance Seeks Justice for Injured Work. Steve, thank you so much for being here today, and I will let you take it over from here.
Thanks so much, Addison. Um, does that PowerPoint look okay? All right, thank you
That
so
looks
much.
great. Thank you.
I You may not be able to see very clearly. Behind me is part of my community. I share my office with our freezer here at home, and behind me is pictures of some of my 14 grandchildren. I identify closely with family and community as as an individual with a disability or just as an individual. So my focus today is how the design of our public programs affect the employment for injured and disabled workers. And some of the goals I'm hoping to cover is really to shine a light on the impacts around public policy, and to do this using the case study of the workers' compensation systems. What's really interesting is that workers' compensation was our first public program to help people with disabilities in Canada. We have over 110 years of experience with that as a public program. Many and most of our public programs didn't really start until the 1950s and 60s, and even some later. So it gives us a lot more kind of basis to kind of look at how did this unfold over the years, and why have things changed? And I hope to have some time at the end to kind of hear from you in terms of what's your experience around some of these issues. And as we look forward to kind of making an improvement for all people, all workers going forward. I do want to mention that, since my injury, losing my left arm there 46 years ago, I've been studying the workers' compensation system, and have really tried to see how the system design, the policies, the legislation influence the outcomes for individuals and workers. And I've been linking with academics for almost 30 years. We did research on our own right from the beginning in 1984, but oftentimes that research wasn't accepted by the powers that be because we weren't scientists, we weren't objective. So we said, well, let's work with academics to try to address that issue. And we see that research can make a difference in people's lives if it's done in partnership with the community. The chances that will actually get used increase substantially. And really looking at what are some of the underlying factors that cause that trouble in the return to work for many workers with a disability, and that has led to an adversarial system in Ontario and really across the country. There are about 50,000 workers every year in Canada who have a serious injury or illness that ends up with a permanent lifelong disability. 50,000 a year. Um, One of our big collaborations with academics was our Research Action Alliance on the consequences of work injury. It was an 8-year initiative. It was funded through the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council, SSHRC. We had 6 universities, our provincial group, the Ontario Network of Injured Workers Groups, and community legal clinics, which there's quite a few of in Ontario, a unique system and one really worthy of looking and studying in terms of the ability to help individuals, but also to help systems changed. We had about 26 research studies included and training for our community. A big part of the initiative was based on the philosophy that the community and the university were equal partners. And so many of our members, as injured workers, are people living in poverty, people with mental health problems, as well as physical problems. Many are have lost everything, their family, their connections, and we certainly didn't start out feeling like we were equals to university professors. But as we started this project, and from our community side, we were very clear that there were things that we really wanted to focus on with our academics. And the first was, what is the history of workers' compensation and how has that changed over time, as I talked about earlier? And the other issue was experience rating. When you say that and people go, "What the heck is that?" That's an obscure term. What is that? Well, experience rating is a financial incentive built into mainly insurance programs. You'll know if you have a car and you have car insurance, if you have an accident, you have a choice to make. If you report that accident to your insurance company, good chance your rates will go up. If you have a second accident, whether it's your fault or not, your rates for sure are going to go up and you may actually lose your coverage. Well, it creates, as you might guess, in car insurance, you as an individual have a choice. Do I report this or not to my insurance company? So what we see is that experience rating was introduced into the workers' compensation system, and we thought it caused harm both to workers' health and to the return to work process. Um, so, what is experience rating? What is it in workers' compensation? Well, our public system started in Ontario in 1915. It unfolded in the rest of the provinces and territories a few years after that. And it was founded on some important principles. There was a royal commission led by Sir William Meredith, who was the Chief Justice of Ontario, a longtime conservative. And he created principles to create a fair-minded system. The one is that it would not be adversarial. It would be there to support the workers going forward, rather than going to court where you have to argue and fight for, what you think is right. The system was there to help you. It was to pay the worker as long as the disability lasts. And it would be to protect both the workers and the employers from direct financial consequences of the injury. So this system worked quite well for that first 75, 80 years until into the 1990s. And in the 1990s, this idea of experience rating was introduced into the system. What it saw was is that employers could be charged huge penalties if they had workers who had lost time injuries. And they, on the flip side, could receive significant rebates if there were little or no lost time injuries from work, much like that example I gave with your car insurance. So you can see right away there is this built-in incentive, well, do we report the injury? What do we do? How do we do that? When it was introduced, the idea was that this was going to create a financial incentive to promote workplace health and safety. But what really happened? Well, there was unintended consequences. There was a huge private industry that of consultants that would go around to employers and say, "Hey, we can save you money. We can not only save you money, we can make you money by getting a big rebate from workers' compensation through this new experience rating program." And these rebates were generated, if you got your injured workers back to work right away, like the next day. There's experiences of workers being taken away to the emergency, and just as they go out the door, the employer gives them a form and says, "We'll take you back to work tomorrow. We have modified work for you," without even knowing what the impact of your injury or disability will be, but with this focus on saving or making money. The idea is to reduce those lost time statistics. So attention actually shifted away in many firms from good health and safety practices to what we call claims management, which turns out to be managing kind of the life of the worker who has been injured and disabled. Claims management became real big in terms of return to work. Injured workers are harassed to get back to work. Like, it becomes a big thing. Like, instead of saying, "Well, we're really sorry that you were hurt at work, and we, are there for you. Anything you need to heal and get better, we're good to go." But no, let's cut that out. Let's get people back to work right away. It ends up in people coming back prematurely. Their disability may become permanent. They may have second or third injuries along the way. Um, the it feels like harassment. The doctor says to you, "Don't go back to work for the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks." But the employer is saying, "Come back right now." And what do you do? And you kind of end up with these psychological issues of like, well, should I listen to my doctor, or do I listen to my employer, or what do I do? And sometimes it's hard to cope. But if you leave that job, you're deemed uncooperative, and you're usually cut off your financial benefits, but still have an injury and a disability. The research we've done has found that so often the worker and their family may end up in poverty. About half of those people, that 50,000 workers a year who end up with a permanent impairment, about half of those end up chronically unemployed, receiving little or no benefits from workers' compensation, ending up with a secondary mental health disorder. And geez, employers get rebates. We just got announcements here in Ontario that the Workers' Compensation Board, the WSIB, is giving $2.5 billion back to employers because there's a big surplus now. Rather than helping those workers, the system is now feels like it's focused on employer compensation rather than helping workers around that. And the compensation system says, this improves health and safety, but really what it's led to is hiding claims so that you can financially benefit. And that means that if you're hiding claims, you're not taking preventative action to reduce the risks for future problems. Here's one of our members who was hurt at work, Halima, her daughter, says, "Well, when I think back to before the accident, I see a family that was on the right path, a happy family. Yes, we had our problems as any other family does, But we kept striving to be better as a whole, a better citizen, a better student, a better sibling, and a valuable member of society. I've never known anyone to work as hard as my mother. And fortunately, on that fateful day, the course of my family's life changed forever. So you can see it's not just the worker who gets that injury, but it can be the whole family. And, why do we need research? Well, really to dovetail with individual personal stories, um, that when you put the personal experience along with the academic scientific research, you have a stronger argument in terms of addressing the issues that we're identifying. And that's why we work together with the academics and our big RACWE project. In the project, our community side oftentimes raised this issue of experience rating. Well, most of the researchers, they didn't really get it. They didn't really understand. It was a foreign concept, and nothing was happening. And here we are, 5 years, 6 years into the project, and no research was done. And so we said, look, this is a priority. We really got to get going. And much to our delight, a number of the academics said, okay, let's go. And within a year or so, we ended up organizing an international conference on the subject of experience rating. We developed two academic papers. There was a full issue of policy and practice in health and safety that worked in conjunction with this international conference, bringing academic work from around the globe on this issue. It became really an exciting thing, like, oh my gosh, we're finally addressing this. This is so exciting. This is so great. Um, what was important, though, was the involvement of our community. And that's based on injured workers groups, on peer support groups, on places where the personal can move into a collective action. It's there's a picture of one of our groups. Everybody, different sizes, shapes, and forms, coming together to share and identify. It's not just you; it's us. When you enter a group, there's a place where you come as an individual and discover that these issues are shared by others as well. So often people say, why is it happening to me? Well, it's not just you. The system is designed to do it the way that it happens. And you're believed and supported, which oftentimes doesn't happen with the big bureaucracy you're dealing with at workers' compensation. It's a place you can learn and grow as well and create a new social network, create new friendships, and find a place where you can contribute to society and where your story, your individual story, can be bigger, a part of a bigger story going forward. It's a place where people can discuss ideas and actions to address the difficulties rather than just kind of going, what can I do? There's nothing I can do. The system's way bigger than me. Everybody's against me. Well, actually, by forming alliances with others, friendships, that's you can start to gain a little bit more power. And one of the things in our big collaboration, we developed our Injured Worker Speaker School. And as we talked about, it's going from venting to convincing, helping people to be more articulate, to describe their own needs, their own experiences in a timely way. And that transformation transformed those individuals where they felt and gained confidence and gained skills to take on the challenges that were affecting them in their individual lives, but also feeling like they were making a difference, participating in the larger change we wanted to happen. Our Injured Worker Speaker School was a program. We piloted it to be 10 weeks, one evening a week for 3 hours. We always included a healthy meal, a transportation assistance, childcare assistance if needed, and it would combine, public speaking skills with knowledge of compensation, of the research that we were doing. It was all around that peer support, that mutual aid, that we're not alone, and understanding how the system was introduced over 100 years ago, and how it was introduced to help and not hinder, which is what so many people felt like was happening to them in real life. We focused a lot of our time on the Meredith principles. That was Sir William Meredith, who was that Chief Justice of Ontario, who was called upon to develop that first workers' compensation system. Um, we could see how workers have been able to make changes over those 100 plus years, uh, moving from venting to convincing. And we would have a graduation ceremony where all the participants would make a short 4 or 5 minute speech at the end. And we would use popular education methods in throughout that really meant we're working together, we're listening. We used that Aboriginal piece, the talking stick, where we go around the room. Everyone has a turn. Everyone needs to listen to others, knowing that they will have their turn coming up. At the graduation ceremony, here's one. Here we have in the back, we have a local MPP. Another, we have these little, not judges, but people to give feedback afterwards. After one of the graduation ceremonies, the MPP rose in the House the next day and gave an impassioned speech about what he heard the previous day at our graduation ceremony. We have a speaker school here in Thunder Bay where I'm based. The graduation ceremony was taking place in the city council chambers, where here we are, we're all people that are vulnerable with disabilities, indigenous folks, homeless people, sitting in the chairs where our mayor and city council sit, and the room full of people, and that's transformative as well. Our whole research project was about taking action. And so it wasn't just research for research to get that data, but so that we were able to move forward together with the individual experience and those research findings. And in your own case, you may be able to use research. We just had a researcher on earlier today. Working with them, you need a research question to further your action. What do you need to know? How do you formulate that question? We saw from our experience that basing that in the real life lived experience of workers with the disabilities is a key component in this. Our achievements from our 8-year partnership was a sustained relationship of mutual respect between our two communities. This increased academic interest, back in the early 2000s, there was almost no research on injured and disabled workers. Nowadays, you can see tons of studies that have been done. And the academics gained in a real appreciation in the knowledge in the community itself. It strengthened our community. We had scientific evidence we could use in our lobbying efforts, and we had dozens of knowledge mobilization initiatives, things from theater and plays and music and conferences. We did tons of things to engage folks going forward. We did write a book, as was mentioned earlier, to kind of capture these experiences. We thought it was such a successful initiative. We wanted to share it with others. and we used our RACWE initiative as a case study. But it's really about how do you engage communities to make change to better their community. And that's available um, there at Friesen Press, or you can go injured who killed Sir William.ca. We have a little website. There's my contact, smantis at tbaytel.net. You can Google me. You can find me there. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you so much. If there is time, we were putting these out as questions for you. Do you see any impact from that claims management or experience rating, disability management in the larger community of people with disabilities? Or can you share any observations on the policies and practices and the systems you're dealing with that need to be addressed? Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Steve. It's always wonderful to have an opportunity to listen to you and the way that you are supporting and really uplifting the community of injured workers to take action and really do something and shift things and make change. That's excellent. We do have one question in the chat here, or in the Q&A, from Emily, who says, I'm wondering if you have any reflections on mental health issues / injuries caused in the workplace. It seems so hard to make this case that the injury or illness was work related, no matter what approach you take or who you have advocating for you.
That's an excellent question, Emily. Thank you so much. This has been an area that we've been focusing on quite a bit because historically there was no compensation for people who had a mental health injury. Um, the first step forward was for traumatic mental stress, where if you were, a police officer or an emergency responder who witnessed, a death on the job, perhaps you could get some compensation. We are lobbying led to changes in the legislation, which included coverage for mental health issues. But the policy that was developed by the WSIB in Ontario made it so onerous in order to qualify that over 90% of the claims for mental health injuries are denied by the compensation board. We are continuing our work on that. And once again, we invite you to join us in that struggle, to share your story, to connect with others in your community, and it's through really our participation that we can make a change in this, because this is such a major issue going forward that we need to focus on it, and we would join you in that struggle. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Steve. We do have to keep moving through our agenda, so I will leave it with one question. There may be a couple in the Q&A. If you can see those and answer them if you've got the time, great. You have given everyone access to your contact information, so should they want to get in touch, I hope that they do. And if you missed it, please reach out to someone from Realize. We would be very happy to connect you with any of our speakers, of course. All right.
Thanks,
Thanks very
Melissa.
much, Steve. Have a great afternoon.